Hey everyone, thought we'd do a quick little video just to kind of talk about our next lesson in measurement. We're going to kind of continue on with what we did with fractions. Fractions yesterday was adding and subtracting, and the idea is you had common denominators. Today's lesson on fractions is about multiplying and just a touch on dividing. So the examples that I put together here are about hopefully things that kind of make sense to us. So when you read the pizza question, you've got 6 pieces out of 8 pieces. So we call that fraction 6/8. And you eat half of those pieces. So we know you eat 3 pieces. So we want to do the math with the fractions that show that you eat 3 out of the 8 pizzas. So the idea of the word of again goes back to other parts of math. So you take 1/2 of, so 1/2 times 6/8. And when you do fractions, we multiply the 1 times 6 is 6 and 2 times 8 is 16. So you top times top and bottom times bottom. And then you do your reducing skills where they both divide by 2. So your final answer is 3/8. And then the second example, again, is about hopefully something that kind of makes sense to us. I don't know if you guys are bakers or not, but I know for at home quite often we have to make a batch and a half just because of the size of the family when we have the family in. And so I want to make, instead of 12 pancakes, I want to make 18 pancakes, which is a batch and a half, which is decimals, but we want to use fractions, so we call it 3/2. So you take 3/2 of 3/4, so you want to increase how much milk you have. 3 times 3 is 9, 2 times 4 is 8. 9/8 doesn't simplify, and we're fine leaving them with improper fractions. For the butter, 3/2, again, that's what we're increasing by, 1/3. So 3/2 times 1/3 is 3 times 1 is 3, and 2 times 3 is 6. So if you increase your butter by 1.5 times, or by 3/2, you have 3/6, or you have half a cup of butter. And then the eggs, well, it's pretty tough to do part of an egg, but anyways, it works out really well here for the eggs because 3/2 times 2 is 6/2, which is now you get to use 3 whole eggs. And then, of course, we have some practice, right? 2/3 times 3/4, 2 times 3, 3 times 4, 6/12, divide them both by 6, it's a half. 4/3 times 3/2, I guess we're doing C before we do D. 4 times 3 is 12, 3 times 2 is 6, 12/6 is 2 wholes, so 2/1 is fine, or whole number 2 is fine. If we go to B, 1/6 times 3/8, 1 times 3 is 3, 6 times 8 is 48. That one's a little bit tougher, but if you at least try to divide by 3, you see you get 1/16, and that's a pretty common fraction in terms of measurement. Dividing, only one dividing example, but I do want you to do some of your own dividing. 5/8 divided by 2/3. The 5/8 stays as 5/8, but we never divide by fractions. You always multiply. So this 2/3 became 3/2, and the dividing sign became times. So when you're doing your dividing practice, make sure you change the dividing sign to multiplying. Take the second fraction, and it's called reciprocal, or inverse. I guess reciprocal is a proper term. So 2/3 becomes 3/2, and now it's 5 times 3 is 15, and 8 times 2 is 16. And then that's your answer, as good as it goes. All right, so that's part A of our lesson.